The autumn twilight in Chicago cast amber light on the glass-walled buildings of the business district. On the 23rd floor of a small design office, Emily Thompson had just finished her last client conference call of the day. Since going independent 5 years ago, she had steadily built up her clientele and now ran a company with 3 staff members. Surviving in the world of graphic design was never easy, but Emily took pride in her work. Her cell phone on the desk vibrated. It was a message from her mother, Carol. "Sunday dinner next week as usual. Come at 6. Emily let out a small sigh as she replied, "Understood." The monthly family dinner had been a tradition for years now. The Thompson house in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Chicago was a 2-story home that her father Robert had purchased when he worked as a banker. Her father had retired last year and now spent his time gardening and reading. Her mother Carol had worked as an elementary school secretary for many years but had taken early retirement 3 years ago. And her younger sister Jessica was succeeding as a real estate agent locally. With her bright and sociable personality, she was loved by both their parents and the neighbors. She wasn't married yet, but she had a long-term boyfriend, and the family seemed to be looking forward to their eventual marriage. As Emily drove to the Thompson house, she mentally prepared herself as usual. Time with her family wasn't unpleasant, but she often felt uncomfortable. It was as if she alone was speaking a different language. When she arrived at her family home, her mother greeted her at the front door. Carol's hair was cut short, and recently she had stopped dyeing her gray hair. As always, she gave Emily a light hug before immediately returning to the kitchen. "Where's Dad?" Emily asked, and her mother answered over her shoulder. "He's reading the newspaper in his study. Jessica should be here soon." The dining room table was already set for 4. Emily headed to her father's study, taking in the aroma of her mother's cooking. Robert was wearing glasses and reading the local paper. He had gained a little weight since retirement but still seemed quite energetic. "Emily, you're here. How's work going?" her father asked, looking up from his newspaper. "Going well. I'm getting new clients too," Emily answered as she sat down in a chair. Her father nodded but quickly returned his attention to the newspaper. "That's good. Jessica sold a big property last month too. You girls are both doing well." Just then, they heard the front door open forcefully. Jessica's bright voice echoed throughout the house. "Everyone, I'm home." Her sister rushed into the dining room, her shoulder-length blonde hair flowing in the wind. Her cheeks were red from the cold, but her smile was radiant. "Emily. It's been so long." Jessica hugged Emily tightly. Her sister's embrace was always warm, and Emily naturally smiled back. During dinner, the conversation always centered on Jessica. Success stories from work, her relationship with her new boyfriend, fun times with friends. Their parents listened intently to their daughter's stories and frequently burst into laughter. Emily occasionally asked questions or made comments, but she felt somewhat like an observer. "Oh, I'm going to Miami next month," Jessica suddenly announced. "With Brian. His friend has a condominium there, so we're going to stay with him." Their mother's eyes lit up. "How wonderful. Take lots of pictures." Emily stared at her wine glass, feeling a small sense of unease in her chest for some reason. It was an inexplicable emotion, neither jealousy nor loneliness, but rather a vague, unsettled feeling. When dinner was over, Emily prepared to leave early as usual. She had early work the next day, and more than that, she felt tired from spending extended time with her family. As she put on her shoes at the entrance, her mother called out, "Drive safely. See you next month." "Yes. Thank you for the wonderful meal," Emily replied with a smile. As she drove away from her family home, Emily gazed at the house lights through her window. Beyond those windows bathed in warm light, her family was probably spending pleasant time together. However, looking at that scene, an indescribable loneliness spread through Emily's heart. It felt as if she alone lived in a different world. As spring arrived in Chicago, Emily's company was swamped with new projects. They had landed a brand renewal job for a local mid-sized company, and work continued late into the night for days on end. During these busy days, she remembered that Jessica's birthday was approaching. On the second Saturday in March, a birthday party for her sister was to be held at the Thompson house. Emily finished her client meeting early and went to a department store to choose a present for Jessica. She found and purchased a brand handbag that her sister had been wanting recently, having it carefully wrapped. On the day of the party, when she arrived at her family home, neighbors and relatives had already gathered. The living room was decorated with colorful balloons, and a cake that her mother had put extra effort into making sat in the center of the dining table. Jessica was wearing a new dress and truly shining as the birthday girl. "Emily. You came." Jessica ran over and embraced her warmly as always. Emily smiled as she handed over the present. "Happy birthday. It's a lovely party." "Thank you. Mom worked so hard on it." Jessica's eyes sparkled with joy. When the party began, the guests enjoyed conversation in their own ways. Emily sat in a corner chair, watching the surroundings with a glass of champagne in hand. That's when her mother's sister, Aunt Liz, approached her. "Emily, how are you doing? Is work going well?" "Yes, thank you. I'm keeping busy," Emily answered politely. Aunt Liz pulled up a chair and sat down. "Speaking of which, Carol showed me photos from last year's Hawaii trip. It must have been beautiful scenery." Emily was confused. "Hawaii trip? Oh, you don't know?" Aunt Liz frowned. "I heard the family went to Hawaii to celebrate Jessica's birthday." At that moment, something caught in Emily's chest. "No, I didn't go. I was too busy with work." Aunt Liz showed a puzzled expression. "Really? But in the photos." She started to say and stopped. "I must be mistaken. When you get older, your memory becomes fuzzy." For the rest of the party, Emily listened carefully to her family's conversations. However, the topic of the Hawaii trip never came up again. As if it was being intentionally avoided. While helping clean up after the party, Emily tried asking her mother. "Mom, did you go to Hawaii last year?" Carol's hands stopped for a moment. "Hawaii? No, we didn't go." I wonder what Aunt Liz was talking about. I see, Emily studied her mother's face, but Carol was concentrating on washing dishes and wouldn't make eye contact. Mother's Day was approaching. Emily prepared a luxury scarf and flower arrangement to show her gratitude to her mother. She left work early and headed to her family home to find the front door unlocked. As she was about to enter, she heard hurried sounds from the living room. "Emily?" There was agitation mixed in her mother's voice. When she entered the living room, her father and Jessica were sitting on the sofa. Several photos were scattered on the coffee table, but when Emily came in, Jessica hurriedly gathered them and hid them under a magazine. "Oh, Emily. You're early," her mother forced an awkward smile. "I brought a Mother's Day present," Emily offered the bouquet while thinking about the photos hidden under the magazine. "Thank you, it's lovely." Her mother accepted the flowers but seemed restless somehow. "What photos were you looking at?" Emily asked casually. "Oh, those were..." Her father started to answer when Jessica interrupted. "We were organizing old family photos." Her sister's voice was higher than usual. "Nothing particularly interesting." That night, Emily reflected on the Mother's Day events in her apartment. Her family's reaction had been far too unnatural. Hidden photos, her agitated mother, awkward conversation. Her conviction that something was being hidden grew stronger each day. The week after Thanksgiving in November, Emily received an unexpected call from her cousin Sarah. Sarah lived on the East Coast and only came home about once a year, so they weren't particularly close. "Emily, how are you?" The Thanksgiving family photo was really lovely, Sarah's voice was bright. Emily gripped the receiver. "Thanksgiving photo?" "Yes, the one your mom posted on Facebook." The photo of everyone gathered around the dinner table. "You all looked so happy, it warmed my heart to see it." Emily's heart began to race. "I couldn't go to Thanksgiving because of work." Silence fell on the other end of the phone. "Oh, but in the photo." Sarah's voice became small. I must have been mistaken. I'm sorry. After hanging up, Emily sank onto her sofa. Her hands were shaking. On Thanksgiving Day, she definitely had an important presentation and couldn't attend the family gathering. She had contacted her family in advance about this. But if a family photo was taken, why was she the only one not there? That night, Emily searched for her mother's Facebook page. However, the account was set to private, and only family members could see the posts. She considered sending a friend request, but thought that would make her seem suspicious, so she decided against it. She tried to concentrate on work, but her mind was full of thoughts about her family. The Hawaii trip story, the hidden photos, the Thanksgiving family photo. These events didn't seem like mere coincidences. During December's family dinner, Emily carefully observed her family's words and actions. The conversation still revolved around Jessica as usual, but Emily noticed a new sense of unease. Between her parents and Jessica, there seemed to be a subtle sense of unity, as if they shared a secret. Eye contact, small knowing smiles, words started and then stopped. When Emily got up to use the bathroom, she overheard a whispered conversation coming from the dining room. I wonder if she still hasn't noticed, her mother's worried voice said. It's okay, Mom. Emily's head is full of work, Jessica's voice continued. But won't she find out eventually, her father's low voice echoed. When that time comes, we'll deal with it then. Don't worry for now. Emily stopped in the hallway. Her heart was beating violently, and sweat beaded on her palms. They were definitely hiding something. And that something was about her. When she returned from the bathroom, the three of them had suddenly changed to a bright conversation about Christmas. The change was too abrupt and unnatural. Emily sat down as if nothing had happened, but inside her heart, a storm was raging. That night, when Emily returned to her apartment, she tried writing down everything that had happened. When she arranged them in chronological order, a pattern became visible. It seemed as if she was being intentionally excluded from her family's important events and happy occasions. However, Emily tried to suppress her suspicions. There was no way her family would intentionally exclude her. She was probably just becoming paranoid from work stress. Telling herself this, she headed to bed. On a Thursday afternoon in February, as cold rain washed over Chicago's streets, Emily's office received a call from her mother. Carol's voice was more flustered than usual. Emily, I have a favor to ask. My smartphone stopped working. The screen went completely black. Emily looked up from the design she was working on. Is it broken? Since when? This morning. When I asked Jessica, she said you're knowledgeable about these things, so I should ask you. Anxiety seeped into her mother's voice. I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I'll be in trouble if I can't be contacted. Emily looked at the clock. It was 3 p.m. I understand. I'll take it to a repair shop. I'll come get it now. Thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. An hour later, Emily received the smartphone from Carol at her family home. Indeed, the screen was completely black and didn't respond when she pressed the power button. The data might be lost, is that okay? Emily confirmed with her mother. Yes, it can't be helped. I don't have anything that important, Carol shrugged. But if possible, I'd like to keep just the photos. In the car on the way to the repair shop, Emily tried checking the smartphone one more time. When she pressed the power button and volume button simultaneously for a long time, the screen suddenly lit up. It seemed to have been just a simple freeze. In the repair shop parking lot, Emily called her mother. It's fixed. It seems to have been just a freeze. Oh, really? Thank you. But just to be safe, could you transfer the data to a new smartphone? Relief seeped into Carol's voice. Actually, it's been acting up for a while. It might break completely next time. Emily consulted with the repair shop staff and began the data transfer procedure. While waiting for the data transfer to the new smartphone, a technician was checking the operation of the old smartphone. Ma'am, the data transfer should be fine. But I have one question, a young technician called out to Emily. This smartphone has a hidden folder. Should we transfer this too? Emily tilted her head. A hidden folder? Yes, a password-protected folder. It's named a hidden. We need the password to transfer it. Emily thought about it. She didn't think her mother would use such a feature. I'm sorry, I don't know the password. Let me ask my mother. The technician nodded understandingly. I see. Please check with your mother and come back. She called Carol from the car, but no matter how many times it rang, there was no answer. Emily stared at the old smartphone. The screen displayed the password input screen for the hidden folder. Suddenly, Emily remembered Jessica's birthday. Family passwords were usually birthdays or anniversaries. She tried entering 0-3-1-5 and the screen changed. The password was correct. When the folder opened, Emily's heart nearly stopped. There were hundreds of photos neatly arranged. Looking at the dates, they spanned the past 5 years. When she tapped on them one by one, they were all family photos. Her father, mother, and Jessica smiling on a Hawaiian beach. The three of them around a table at a high-end restaurant. A family embracing in front of a Christmas tree. The Thanksgiving dinner table. Jessica's birthday party. Emily's hands began to shake. In every photo, she was the only one missing. As if she had never existed from the beginning. Scrolling further, she realized they were organized into albums. Hawaii trip 2023, Napa Valley weekend trip, Jessica's birthday, Thanksgiving 2024. And finally, there was an album name that made Emily doubt her eyes. Family Photos Without Emily. That album contained 5 years' worth of family memories. Trips she didn't know about, birthday parties she hadn't attended, anniversary dinners she wasn't invited to. Everything had been done intentionally, systematically, excluding Emily. In the car, Emily found it hard to breathe. Her palms were soaked with sweat, and her hands holding the smartphone wouldn't stop shaking. 5 years. For 5 years, she had been excluded from her family. One photo particularly pierced her chest. It was taken on Christmas morning last year in a luxury hotel suite. The three of them were in pajamas, in the middle of opening Christmas presents. The fireplace cast warm light, and a snowy landscape stretched outside the window. It was a perfect family portrait. Without Emily. That day, Emily had spent Christmas alone in her apartment, eating instant food. Her family had said they wanted to spend it quietly this year. But in reality, they had enjoyed a luxurious Christmas vacation as a family, excluding only her. As she checked the dates of the photos, a pattern became visible. During times when Emily had said she was busy with work, when she had contacted them in advance that she couldn't participate, special family time was always arranged. As if they had been waiting for her absence. Emily hurried back to the repair shop. The technician looked at her with concern. Ma'am, are you all right? You look pale. Cancel the data transfer, Emily's voice was shaking. Please return the old smartphone as is. I understand. But the cause of the malfunction hasn't been resolved. That's fine. After leaving the repair shop, Emily stared at the smartphone in her car again. The hidden folder might contain other secrets. She opened the messaging app and found a family group chat. It was named A Real Family. When she scrolled back through the message history, Emily's chest felt like it would burst. There were hundreds of messages. They all discussed excluding Emily as if it were natural, talking about her while treating her as if her absence would make the family happier. As if she were a burden, and they would be better off without her. Emily placed the smartphone on the passenger seat. Her hands were shaking so much she couldn't look at the screen anymore. She opened the car window to try to breathe fresh air, but the pain deep in her chest wouldn't go away. 5 years of questions were all answered. Her family's unnatural behavior, hidden photos, awkward conversations. Everything had an explanation. She wasn't loved. She wasn't needed. For 5 years, maybe even longer, she had been nothing but a burden to her family. Emily started the car engine. She thought about confronting her family with the truth, but she didn't have the courage. Instead, she took out her phone and opened the family group chat, Thompson family. She typed a short message. "Don't contact me anymore." After pressing send, Emily took a deep breath. Something felt like it had ended, and something felt like it had begun. Complex emotions swirled in her chest. The rain was still falling, but Emily strangely felt her heart had become lighter. The truth was painful, but at least she no longer had to continue a false relationship. 3 years had changed Emily Thompson into a different person. Since that rainy day when she decided to cut ties with her family, she had completely rebuilt her life. She threw herself into work, built new relationships, and above all, learned to value herself. Emily's design company, A Creative Visions, had grown to become one of the most notable young companies in Chicago. The number of employees had increased to 15, and they now had clients nationwide. This spring, they received a buyout proposal from a major advertising agency. The amount was much larger than she had imagined, making her economic independence completely secure. The signing ceremony for the acquisition contract was held at a luxury hotel in downtown Chicago. Reporters from local business magazines came to cover it, and Emily's success story was to be featured as the cover article in the following month's issue. She was getting attention from many people. Around that time, she received an unexpected contact. In her mailbox was an envelope with a familiar handwritten address. The sender was listed as Jessica Thompson. Emily held the envelope and stared at it for a while. For 3 years, there had been no contact from her family. For the first few months, her mother had called several times, but Emily didn't answer. Eventually, the calls stopped, and silence continued as if the family had never existed from the beginning. When she opened the envelope, there was a wedding invitation printed on high-quality paper. It announced that Jessica Thompson and Brian Harrison's wedding would be held next month at a luxury resort outside Chicago. Along with the invitation, there was a letter from Jessica. "Dear Emily, I'm sorry for not being in touch for so long. I can't imagine having a wedding without you. Please attend. As family, as my sister, I need your presence. If possible, I'd like to ask you to give a speech too. With love, Jessica." Emily read the letter again. The words "as family" stirred up complex emotions. Since that day 3 years ago, the word family had become nothing but an empty sound to her. The next day, her mother also called. Emily hesitated for a long time before answering the phone. "Emily?" Carol's voice sounded aged. "How are you? Did you get the invitation?" "I received it." Emily's voice was emotionally controlled. "Please. Won't you attend? Jessica really wants to see you." We want to see you too," tears mixed with her mother's voice. After a long silence, Emily answered, "I'll think about it." After hanging up, Emily looked down at the city from her office window. The new life she had built over 3 years. Trustworthy friends, a successful business, and above all, genuine human relationships. Having obtained all of these, perhaps the time had come to face the past. A week before the wedding, Emily decided to attend. However, it wasn't for reconciliation. The time had finally come to reveal the truth she had kept buried in her chest for so long. On the wedding day, Grand Oaks Resort, in the Chicago suburbs, was bathed in early summer sunlight. Nearly 200 guests had gathered at the venue, and the garden was beautifully decorated with white roses and lilies. Emily appeared at the venue wearing a black silk dress. Seeing her refined appearance after 3 years, many guests turned to look. The dignity of a successful businesswoman was clearly evident in her bearing. "Emily." Jessica rushed over. Her sister, dressed in a pure white wedding gown, was as beautiful and radiant as ever. "You really came." Emily smiled and hugged her sister. "Congratulations, Jessica. You're a beautiful bride." Her parents also approached. Her father Robert looked older than before, but her mother Carol clearly showed an expression of relief. "Emily," her father said heavily. "Thank you for coming." While exchanging greetings, Emily looked around the venue. relatives, friends, colleagues. Many were people she didn't know, but some were old acquaintances. She could see Aunt Liz, whom she had met at the Christmas party 3 years ago. When the ceremony began, Emily sat in a seat toward the back. While listening to Jessica and Brian's vows, she checked the tablet she had brought. The photos she had taken screenshots of 3 years ago were organized and saved in folders. The reception began, and speech time was approaching. The MC took the microphone. Now, we'd like to hear words from Emily Thompson, the bride's sister. Emily stood up and headed to the stage. The venue's attention focused on her. When she received the microphone, the venue was enveloped in silence. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to attend Jessica and Brian's wedding today. Emily's voice was calm and carried well. I stand here today as Jessica's sister. Warm applause arose from various parts of the venue. Jessica smiled happily, and her parents showed proud expressions. I'd like to talk about family bonds, Emily continued. What is family? Is it blood relations? Is it time spent together? Or is it hearts that care for each other? Emily took out her tablet and connected it to the venue's projector. Today, I'd like to show you all beautiful memories of our family. The first photo was displayed on the large screen. It was a photo of her father, mother, and Jessica smiling on a Hawaiian beach. Exclamations of admiration arose from the venue. This is from a Hawaii trip 2 years ago. Emily's voice remained calm. It was a wonderful family trip, wasn't it? She switched to the next photo. It was from an anniversary celebration at a high-end restaurant. This is from my parents' wedding anniversary celebration. They look so happy. The people in the venue smiled while looking at the photos, but confusion began to appear on Jessica's face. Her mother turned pale, and her father became unable to move in his seat. And this is from last Christmas. Emily displayed the third photo. A lovely Christmas vacation at a luxury hotel. The atmosphere in the venue began to change subtly. Several guests were tilting their heads in confusion. Have you noticed? Emily smiled for the first time. All of these photos have one thing in common. The fourth and fifth photos continued. Thanksgiving dinner, Jessica's birthday party, family weekend trips. I'm not in any of these photos, Emily's voice echoed through the venue via the microphone. For 5 years, I alone was excluded from family memories. The venue began to murmur. Guests were confused. Jessica tried to stand up but was stopped by Brian. These photos were saved in my mother's smartphone's hidden folder under the album name, Family Photos Without Emily. Emily displayed the final photo. It was a screenshot of the family group chat, a real family. And this represents my family's true feelings. The content of the messages was displayed on the large screen. Content discussing excluding Emily as if it were natural, talking about her while treating her exclusion as a given. The venue was completely enveloped in silence. Jessica began to cry. Her mother covered her face with her hands. Her father sat in his seat, motionless as if he had turned to stone. For 5 years, I lived without realizing I wasn't loved. Emily's voice showed no emotional wavering. But now that I know the truth, I understand what real family is. True family consists of people connected by love, not blood relations. Emily put down the microphone and stepped down from the stage. Sobbing could be heard from various parts of the venue. Many guests began to stand up, and the reception was effectively over. As Emily was about to leave the venue, Jessica chased after her. Emily, wait. Please, let's talk. Jessica's eyes were a mess with tears. Emily turned around. There's nothing to talk about, Jessica. You all lied to me for 5 years. I have no intention of listening to explanations or apologies now. But we're family. No, Emily said clearly. You are not my family. I understood that 3 years ago. Emily left the venue and headed to her car. Her father and mother chased after her from behind, but Emily didn't look back. 2 years passed after that. Emily, through a lawyer, sued for damages for psychological abuse and, after a court battle, won part of her parents' retirement funds. More than the amount itself, it was meaningful that the treatment she had received was legally recognized. Around that time, Emily was beginning a new chapter in her life. A relationship had begun with Michael Lawrence, whom she met at an industry event, and they married a year later. Michael was an architect who deeply understood Emily's work and, above all, was a gentleman who accepted her past. When Emily turned 40, she was blessed with twins. 2 babies, named Sophia and Ethan, brought new joy to her life. When she became a mother for the first time, Emily truly understood from the bottom of her heart what real love was. When the children turned 1, there was an unexpected contact. It was a letter from her mother, Carol. Emily hesitated for a long time before opening the seal. The letter stated that her father Robert had suffered a stroke and was now in need of care. "Please come see your father. As family, this is my final request," the letter concluded. The following week, there was also a tearful phone call from Jessica. "Emily, please. Help with the caregiving. I can't do it alone. Brian and I got divorced. Taking care of Dad and Mom destroyed our marriage." Emily answered quietly, "Jessica, I am neither your daughter nor your sister. Legally and emotionally, I have no obligation to provide care. But blood relations," Jessica began to say through tears when Emily interrupted. "If it's about blood relations, you severed those when you excluded me for 5 years. There's no place for you in my family photos. Don't try to change the rules you created." After hanging up, Emily consulted with her lawyer. It was confirmed that legally, she had no obligation to care for her parents. The record of 5 years of exclusion and psychological abuse freed her from legal responsibility. On Christmas morning, Emily was in the living room with her husband and 2-year-old twins. The fireplace was warm, and presents were piled high under the tree. The sounds of Sophia and Ethan cheering as they tore wrapping paper echoed throughout the house. Michael picked up the camera. "Let's take a family photo." The 4 of them sat in front of the fireplace and smiled at the camera. Sophia laughed on Emily's lap, and Ethan put his arm around Michael's shoulder. At the moment the shutter clicked, Emily felt happiness from the bottom of her heart. "This is a real family photo," Emily whispered to Michael. That afternoon, Emily put the photo in a frame and placed it on the mantel. Looking at the photo of 4 smiling faces, she took a deep breath. Snow had begun to fall outside the window. The children were napping, and Michael was working in his study. Emily sat alone on the sofa and picked up a bundle of letters. They were letters that had arrived from the Thompson family over the past 3 years. Apology letters, pleading letters, angry letters. All remained unopened. Emily threw the letters into the fireplace fire. She quietly watched as the flames licked the paper and it turned to ash and disappeared. Watching the past literally burn away, she felt a sense of liberation. That night, while putting Sophia and Ethan to bed, Emily whispered to the children, "Mommy will never leave you alone. You are my treasures. No matter what happens, we are family." The 2 children were breathing peacefully in their sleep. Emily gently kissed their foreheads and left the room. Sitting on the sofa in the living room with Michael, Emily gazed at the photo on the mantel. 4 happy, smiling faces. This was family. Real family connected by love, not blood relations. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked gently. "About family," Emily held her husband's hand. "Real family means people who truly cherish your existence." Michael squeezed her hand back. "You and the children are my family. I don't need anything else." Emily smiled. At 43, she finally had a real family. The pain of the past was completely healed, and her heart was filled with hope for the future. Snow continued to fall outside, but inside the house was warm, enveloped in love. This was the life she had chosen. A life built on true love without being bound by blood relations, with the family she had created. Emily Lawrence had finally found true happiness.